billionaire CEO said, "I never want kids." She left, pregnant. 5 years later, he found her with twins. Welcome back, everyone. Before we dive in, make sure you drop your thoughts and the lessons you took from this story in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe. The champagne glass trembles in her hand. Just slightly. Enough for the bubbles to dance against crystal like tiny, desperate prayers. Victoria Laurent stands before the floor-to-ceiling windows of a Manhattan penthouse, the city sprawling 60 stories below like a kingdom of broken promises. She wears emerald silk. The same dress he bought her in Paris 3 months ago when he whispered forever against her skin. Tonight, she carries a secret that will either build their future or destroy it completely. 2 pink lines. 2 tiny heartbeats. Twins. Behind her, Dominic Ashford emerges from his study. 32 years old. Self-made. Untouchable. The kind of man who commands boardrooms with a single glance and treats love like a business merger. Calculated. Controlled. He's about to say 3 words that will shatter everything. "You're glowing tonight." His voice cuts through the silence like expensive cologne. Smooth. Intoxicating. Dangerous. Victoria turns. Her hand moves instinctively to her stomach before she catches herself. Before she remembers that he doesn't know yet. That in just a few moments, she'll tell him about the miracles growing inside her, and he'll look at her the way he looked at her that first night at the gallery opening. Like she hung every star in the sky just for him. Am I? Her voice carries music. Hope. The kind of naive joy that doesn't know it's about to die. Dominic crosses the room. His movements are fluid. Predatory. When he reaches for her hands, his are trembling. She notices this. Thinks maybe he's nervous. Maybe he's going to propose. Maybe this moment, this perfect crystalline moment, is the beginning of their real life together. "Victoria, there's something I need to discuss with you." The air shifts. Something cold crawls up her spine, but she pushes it down. Forces a smile. "So have I. I've been thinking about us too. About our future." She's already planning the words. How she'll tell him. How his face will transform when he realizes they created life together. How he'll pull her close and whisper that she's given him everything he never knew he needed. Dominic sits on the leather sofa. Gestures for her to join him. The city lights behind him create a halo effect, but there's nothing angelic in his expression now. His jaw is set. His eyes have gone cold in that particular way they do when he's about to deliver an ultimatum in a business meeting. "You know how much you mean to me. These past 8 months have been incredible. You've brought something to my life I didn't know I was missing." Victoria's heart soars. This is it. This is the moment everything changes. "But I need to be completely honest with you about something. I need you to understand my position." He pauses. Takes a breath. And the world begins to crack. "Victoria, I never want kids." The words hit like bullets. Clean. Precise. Fatal. Her lungs forget how to work. The penthouse suddenly feels like a mausoleum. Cold marble. Expensive art. Everything beautiful and nothing alive. Not now. Not ever. Children would destroy everything I've built. Everything I've worked for. They're a complication I can't afford. A responsibility that would consume the life I've carefully constructed. Each word is a knife. Victoria's hand moves to her stomach again. This time she doesn't stop it. Her palm presses flat against the emerald silk, against the 2 tiny hearts beating beneath. "I don't understand." Her voice comes out broken. Small. Nothing like the confident artist who walked into this penthouse 8 months ago believing love could conquer anything. Dominic leans forward. His expression softens with what he probably thinks is kindness. What Victoria now recognizes as pity. "I've watched my parents' marriage crumble under the weight of family obligations. Watched my father's empire suffer because he was constantly distracted by domestic responsibilities. I refuse to make those mistakes. I refuse to let anyone or anything derail what I've spent my entire life building." Victoria's vision blurs. The city lights beyond the windows turn to watercolor. bleeding, shapeless. What if what if children were already part of the equation? The question escapes before she can stop it. Desperate, pleading. Dominic's expression hardens instantly. His jaw sets like concrete. Then that someone would need to make a choice. Me or them. Because I won't compromise on this, Victoria. I won't pretend to want something that would fundamentally change who I am and what my life represents. This isn't negotiable. It never will be. The finality in his voice is absolute. Unchangeable as gravity. As death. Victoria stands. Her legs shake but somehow hold her weight. The emerald dress suddenly feels like a costume. Like she's been playing a role in someone else's story and just now realized she never had a script. I need to go. Her voice is steady. Too steady. The kind of calm that comes right before a complete breakdown. Go. Dominic frowns. Confusion flickers across his perfect features. But I made reservations at per se. I thought we'd celebrate this. Our future. The fact that we want the same things. But they don't want the same things. They never did. Victoria was just too blinded by love to see it. I need air. She's already moving. Already gathering her purse. Already leaving behind the woman who walked into this penthouse carrying hope like a torch. Victoria, wait. But she doesn't wait. Can't wait. If she stays one more second, she'll crumble. She'll tell him about the babies and watch his face contort with something worse than anger. Disappointment. Resentment. The slow poison of obligation. The elevator doors close on his confused expression. On the penthouse that was supposed to be their kingdom. On the life that died before it even began. In the mirrored walls, Victoria sees herself. Pale. Stricken. One hand pressed protectively over her stomach where two hearts beat in perfect rhythm, unaware that their father just rejected them before they even drew their first breath. The descent feels endless. 60 floors of mourning. By the time she reaches the lobby, something fundamental has shifted inside her. The heartbreak is still there. Raw. Bleeding. But beneath it, something harder begins to form. Determination. These babies will never know they weren't wanted. Will never feel the sting of being called a complication. A burden. An obstacle to someone else's carefully constructed life. She'll make sure of it. Even if it costs her everything. Victoria's studio apartment in Brooklyn feels smaller than she remembers. The walls close in as she moves through rooms that smell like turpentine and half-finished dreams. Every photograph of them together goes into a box. Every gift. Every reminder of the man who looked her in the eyes and chose his empire over their children. She doesn't cry. Not yet. There's too much to do. By 3 in the morning, her life fits into 2 suitcases and a canvas bag. By dawn, she's driving north on I-95 with tears finally streaming down her face and 2 tiny passengers who will never know this story. Who will grow up believing their father loved them from a distance rather than learning he never wanted them at all. The city shrinks in her rearview mirror. Manhattan's skyline catches the sunrise like broken glass. Beautiful. Sharp. Capable of cutting you if you get too close. Victoria doesn't look back again. Somewhere behind her, Dominic Ashford wakes alone in his penthouse. Finds her side of the bed empty. Assumes she needed space. Doesn't realize she's gone forever. Doesn't know that the life they created together is heading north toward a future he'll spend 5 years trying to find. The highway stretches endlessly ahead. Trees blur past. Miles accumulate. And with each passing moment, Victoria feels the old version of herself dying. The woman who believed in fairy tales. Who thought love could overcome anything. Who was naive enough to trust a man who built walls instead of bridges. That woman is gone. In her place, something fiercer emerges. A mother. A protector. Someone who will burn the whole world down before letting anyone make her children feel unwanted. The twins shift inside her. Tiny movements. Barely perceptible. But Victoria feels them like earthquakes. Like promises she's making with her whole body. I've got you. Both of you. And I will love you enough for 2 parents. I will be everything you need. You will never feel the absence of someone who chose not to stay. The words become a mantra, a prayer, a declaration of war against the man who broke her heart but will never touch theirs. By the time Victoria crosses into Maine, the sun is high and merciless. The kind of light that exposes everything. No shadows to hide in. No darkness to soften the edges of grief. She pulls into a rest stop. Sits in the car with the engine ticking as it cools. Her reflection in the visor mirror shows someone she barely recognizes. Eyes red-rimmed but dry now. Jaw set with new resolve. Hands still pressed protectively over her stomach. This is the face of a woman who survived. Who will continue surviving. Who will build a life so full of love that her children never question their worth. Victoria closes the visor. Starts the engine. Keeps driving. The coastal town of Riverstone appears like something from a postcard. Weathered docks. Art galleries with hand-painted signs. Coffee shops where locals know each other's names. The kind of place where you can disappear without vanishing completely. Where you can start over without erasing who you were. She rents a tiny cottage 3 blocks from the ocean. Pale yellow with white trim and a garden that's mostly weeds but holds potential. The rent is cheap. The landlord doesn't ask questions. By sunset, Victoria is unpacking her 2 suitcases in a bedroom that smells like salt air and second chances. That night, she lies in an unfamiliar bed listening to waves crash against rocks and feels the babies move again. Stronger this time. More insistent. We're going to be okay. I promise. We're going to be more than okay. She's not sure if she's trying to convince them or herself. The months that follow blur together in a haze of morning sickness and prenatal appointments. Victoria finds work teaching art at the local elementary school. The principal, a kind woman named Margaret Chen, doesn't pry into Victoria's past. Just sees a talented teacher who's good with kids and needs a fresh start. The other teachers embrace her slowly, carefully, the way you approach a wounded animal. They sense the heartbreak she carries like a second skin but respect her privacy. Invite her to potlucks. Include her in conversations. Help her paint the nursery in soft blues and greens because she refuses to know the gender. Wants to be surprised. Needs something to look forward to that isn't tinged with grief. Phoenix Whitmore becomes her closest friend by accident. They meet at a prenatal yoga class where Victoria's carefully constructed composure finally cracks. One moment she's in downward dog. The next she's sobbing on her mat while the instructor awkwardly offers tissues. Phoenix, 8 months pregnant herself and unbothered by public displays of emotion, sits beside Victoria until the storm passes. Doesn't ask questions. Just hands her water and declares they're getting coffee after class whether Victoria likes it or not. Over lukewarm decaf in a cafe that smells like cinnamon and compassion, Victoria tells her story. Not all of it. Just enough. The man who said he never wanted kids. The choice she made to protect her babies. The loneliness that sometimes feels like drowning. Phoenix listens without judgment. Then reaches across the table and squeezes Victoria's hand with surprising strength. You're braver than you think. And those babies are lucky as hell to have you. It's the first time in months that Victoria believes it might be true. October 15th arrives with autumn light that turns everything gold. Victoria wakes at 4 in the morning with contractions that feel like her body is trying to turn itself inside out. Phoenix drives her to the hospital doing 70 in a 45 zone and swearing at every red light. The labor is long. Brutal. 17 hours of pain that rewrites Victoria's understanding of what her body can endure. But when they finally place 2 tiny, perfect boys in her arms, everything else falls away. Carter arrives first. 6 pounds. 3 ounces. Dark hair already curling at the edges. Eyes that won't open for another hour but Victoria knows will be gray. She knows without seeing. Knows they'll look exactly like their father. Noah follows 3 minutes later. 6 pounds even. Identical to his brother except for a dimple in his left cheek that appears when he yawns. Which he does immediately. A great, shuddering yawn that makes the nurses laugh. Victoria holds them both against her chest and feels something fundamental shift in the universe. This is love. Not the romantic kind that had shattered her, but something ancient, primal. The kind of love that would move mountains or burn cities or walk into traffic without hesitation. They're perfect. She whispers it like a prayer, like a promise, like a shield against every dark thought that tried to creep in during the lonely months of pregnancy. Over the next 5 years, Victoria builds a life from scratch. The cottage becomes a home. Walls fill with the boys' artwork. The garden transforms from weeds to wildflowers. She paints again. Not the abstract pieces she created in New York, but watercolors of sunrises and sailboats and 2 little boys who grow faster than she's ready for. Carter is serious, thoughtful, the kind of child who studies things with intense focus before acting. He learns to read at 4, memorizes dinosaur names and recites facts about triceratops at bedtime, prefers quiet mornings and asks questions that shouldn't come from someone so young. Why don't we have a daddy? The question comes one random Tuesday while Victoria is making breakfast. Carter is 5 years old, sitting at the kitchen table with a coloring book. His gray eyes, Dominic's eyes, watching her with unnerving perception. Victoria's hands freeze on the spatula. She's rehearsed this moment 1,000 times. Prepared answers that balance truth with protection. But now that it's here, every practiced word evaporates. You do have a daddy. He just works very far away and can't visit right now. The lie tastes bitter. But the truth would taste worse. Does he love us? Carter's voice is small, uncertain. It breaks something in Victoria's chest. Yes, baby. He loves you very much. His job keeps him traveling. But he thinks about you all the time. Another lie. But this one feels necessary. Justified. Carter nods. Seems satisfied. Goes back to coloring. Victoria turns to the stove before he can see her face. Before he can see the guilt and rage and heartbreak warring behind her carefully maintained composure. Noah is different. Where Carter is cautious, Noah is bold. He makes friends with everyone. Hugs strangers in the grocery store. Declares his love for butterflies and refuses to be embarrassed about it. At 5 years old, he's already the kind of person who lights up rooms just by entering them. He asks about their father too. But his questions are more matter of fact. Less weighted with hidden meaning. When is Daddy coming home? I don't know, sweetheart. Someday. Can we send him pictures of our fort? Sure. We can do that. They never send the pictures. There's no address to send them to. But Noah doesn't follow up. Content with the promise. With the idea that somewhere out there, a father exists who cares about their fort and their drawings and their existence. Victoria knows she's building a house of cards. That someday the truth will come crashing down. But for now, the lie holds. And her boys grow up feeling loved. Wanted. Secure in a way she never was after her own father walked out. She's given them that, at least. Even if it's built on fiction. The years pass in a blur of birthday parties and scraped knees and bedtime stories. Phoenix's daughter, Riley, becomes the boys' best friend. The 3 of them are inseparable. Running through Victoria's garden like wild things. Building forts in the woods behind the cottage. Creating the kind of childhood memories that will sustain them when the world gets harder. Margaret Chen, the school principal, becomes a grandmother figure. Showing up with homemade soup when the boys get sick. Offering to babysit so Victoria can have rare evenings to herself. Never prying but always present. The kind of steady, reliable love that Victoria didn't know she needed until it was there. The community of Riverstone wraps around them like a quilt. Imperfect but warm. Protecting Victoria and the boys from questions they're not ready to answer. From a past that still haunts Victoria's dreams. Because Dominic is still there. In the quiet moments. In the gray eyes that stare back at her from 2 small faces. In the way Carter tilts his head when he's thinking. In Noah's laugh that sounds exactly like his father's used to. Before everything went wrong. She wonders sometimes if Dominic ever thinks about her. If he even noticed she left. If he mourned their relationship or just moved on to the next woman. the next carefully controlled affair that would never threaten his empire. Victoria tells herself she doesn't care, that she's moved on, that her life is full and happy and complete without him. Most days, she almost believes it. But at night, when the boys are asleep and the cottage is quiet, she lies in bed and remembers. The way he used to say her name. The way his hands felt against her skin. The way she thought, truly believed, that love would be enough. She was wrong. Love wasn't enough. But maybe that's okay. Maybe what she has now, this fierce protective love for her sons, is better. More real. Less likely to shatter. The morning of the boy's 5th birthday starts like any other Saturday. Victoria makes pancakes shaped like dinosaurs. Phoenix arrives with presents and coffee. Margaret brings a homemade cake with too much frosting and 5 candles for each boy. They celebrate in the garden. Victoria has strung lights between the trees. Set up a small art station where the boys can paint. It's perfect. Simple. Exactly the kind of childhood she wants them to have. Carter and Noah are covered in paint within minutes, creating masterpieces that will join the hundreds already covering Victoria's refrigerator. They're happy, healthy, loved. This is enough. This has to be enough. But the universe has other plans. At 10:37 on that ordinary Saturday morning, everything changes. Victoria is helping Noah clean his brushes when Carter looks up from his painting. His gray eyes focus on something beyond the garden gate. His expression shifts. Curious. Uncertain. Mama. There's a man watching us. Victoria's heart stops. She turns slowly, follows her son's gaze. And there, standing at her garden gate in an expensive suit that's completely wrong for a small Maine town, is Dominic Ashford. 5 years older. Hair slightly longer. Face carved with lines that weren't there before. But unmistakably him. Unmistakably the man who destroyed her. The father her children have never met. His gray eyes, Carter's eyes, Noah's eyes, are fixed on the boys with an expression Victoria has never seen before. Wonder. Fuck. Devastation. Recognition. He knows. Without her saying a word. He knows they're his. The paintbrush slips from Victoria's hand. Hits the ground with a soft thud that sounds like thunder in her ears. Time stretches. Compresses. The 5 years between then and now collapse into this single, impossible moment. Dominic's lips move, forming words Victoria can't hear over the rushing in her ears. The boys stand frozen, sensing the tension even if they don't understand it. Phoenix appears from inside the cottage, takes one look at the scene, at Victoria's face, at the man at the gate, and immediately moves toward the boys. Come on, you two. Let's go inside and wash up. Leave those brushes for later. But Carter doesn't move. His artist's eyes study Dominic with unsettling intensity. Then he looks at his mother. At the tears streaming down her face that she didn't realize had started. At the way she's trembling like she's about to shatter. Mama. Who is that? The question hangs in the air. Heavy. Impossible to answer and impossible to avoid. Victoria opens her mouth. No sound comes out. How do you explain this moment to a 5-year-old? How do you tell your children that the man at the gate is their father but also a stranger? That he never wanted them but somehow found them anyway? Phoenix gently guides both boys toward the cottage. They go reluctantly, looking back over their shoulders, trying to understand why their mother is crying, why this stranger makes everything feel wrong. When they're inside, when it's just Victoria and Dominic separated by a white picket fence and 5 years of silence, he finally speaks. Victoria. One word. Her name. Spoken like a prayer or a curse or both. His voice is exactly how she remembers. Deep. Controlled. But now there's something else underneath. Something raw and desperate that she's never heard before. How did you find me? Her voice comes out steadier than she expected. Cold. Distant. The voice of someone who learned how to survive without him. Dominic's hand grips the fence. His knuckles go white. I never stopped looking. Every weekend for 5 years. Every town within 500 miles of New York. I never stopped. The words should move her. Should mean something. But Victoria feels nothing except the fierce need to protect her boys from whatever comes next. Why? The question is simple. Brutal. Dominic's carefully controlled expression finally cracks. His eyes are bright with tears he's too proud to shed. Because I was wrong. About everything. About children. About what mattered. About what I wanted my life to be. I've spent 5 years learning what it feels like to live without you. Victoria laughs. It comes out bitter. Broken. You got exactly what you wanted, Dominic. A life without complications. A life without children cluttering up your perfect existence. Those are my sons. He says it quietly, but the words land like a bomb, shattering what little composure Victoria has left. No. They're my sons. You made your choice 5 years ago. You drew a line. Me or them. I chose them. You don't get to show up now and claim them just because you finally found us. Dominic pushes open the gate. Steps into her garden. Her sanctuary. The space she spent 5 years making safe. Victoria. Please. I know I have no right to ask. I know I gave up any claim to your forgiveness. But let me try. Let me try to be the father they deserve. The father they deserve. Victoria's voice rises. 5 years of suppressed rage finally breaking free. The father they deserve wouldn't have called them complications. Wouldn't have said they'd destroy everything he built. Wouldn't have made me choose between him and 2 babies who didn't even exist yet. I didn't know. You didn't want to know. The accusation hangs between them. True. Undeniable. Dominic takes another step forward. Close enough now that Victoria can see the exhaustion etched into his face. The kind that comes from 5 years of searching. Of regret. Of slowly drowning in your own mistakes. You're right. I didn't want to know. I was terrified of what children would mean. What they'd take from me. But Victoria, I've spent 5 years learning that living without you, without them, took everything anyway. My company. My carefully constructed life. None of it means anything without the people who should have been there from the beginning. Inside the cottage, a small face appears at the window. Noah. Pressing his nose against the glass. Watching the adults in the garden with wide, curious eyes. Dominic sees him. Freezes. The resemblance is unmistakable. Undeniable. This child is his in every possible way. From the gray eyes to the dark curling hair to something in the shape of his face that mirrors Dominic's own baby pictures. That's Noah. Victoria's voice softens despite herself. And the other one is Carter. She watches Dominic's face as the reality fully sinks in. He has sons. 2 of them. 5 years old. Growing up without him. Living entire lives he knows nothing about. They don't know who you are. I know. They think you work far away. That you love them but can't visit because of your job. Victoria's voice cracks. I told them you loved them, Dominic. Even though you didn't. Even though you never wanted them. I told them you loved them because I couldn't bear for them to grow up thinking they weren't wanted. The tears Dominic has been holding back finally fall. Silent. Devastating. I do love them. I didn't 5 years ago. I didn't understand what that would mean. But Victoria, I've loved them every day since I realized they existed. Every single day. You've known about them for what? An hour. And you think that's love? No. Dominic's voice is firm now. Certain. I've loved them since the moment you left. Since I realized you were trying to tell me something that night and I was too selfish to hear it. Since I understood that you were gone because I'd given you no choice. I've loved the idea of them. The possibility of them. The hope that somewhere you were raising our children to be kind and brave and everything I wasn't. Victoria wants to stay angry. Wants to hold on to the rage that sustained her through 5 years of single parenthood. But something in his voice. Something genuine and broken. Makes the anger waver. What do you want from me? Everything. Dominic doesn't hesitate. A chance to know them. To be their father. To prove that I've changed. That the man who said those words 5 years ago doesn't exist anymore. People don't change, Dominic. Not fundamentally. You did. The observation catches Victoria off guard. You changed from the woman who believed love could fix everything into someone strong enough to raise 2 children alone. To build a life from nothing. To protect them from the pain I would have caused. You changed because you had to. Because they needed you to. He steps closer. Close enough that Victoria can smell his cologne. Still the same after 5 years. Still capable of bringing back memories she thought she'd buried. I changed too. Not because I wanted to. Because losing you broke something fundamental in me. Made me realize that the life I'd built was hollow. That the empire I was so desperate to protect wasn't worth protecting if it meant living without the people I loved. Victoria's resolve begins to crumble. She hates herself for it. For the small part of her that wants to believe him. That wants to give her sons the father they've dreamed about. That wants, maybe, to stop carrying everything alone. I need to think. Dominic nods. Respects the boundary even though it clearly costs him. Take all the time you need. I'm staying at the inn on Harbor Street. I'm not going anywhere, Victoria. Not until you tell me to. And maybe not even then. He turns to leave. Gets as far as the gate before Noah bursts through the cottage door. Small feet pounding across the grass. Carter follows more cautiously. Both boys stopping a few feet away from this stranger who makes their mother cry. Are you our daddy? Noah asks it. Direct. Fearless. The way he approaches everything in life. Victoria's breath catches. This moment. This impossible moment. Has arrived faster than she's ready for. Dominic looks at Victoria. Silently asking permission to answer. To step into the role he abandoned before it even began. She could say no. Could protect this secret a little longer. But looking at her boys' faces. At the hope and confusion and desperate need for truth written across their features. She realizes the lie has run its course. Yes. The word comes out barely audible. But loud enough for 2 small boys to hear. Loud enough to change everything. Noah's face splits into a grin. Carter remains still. Watching. Processing. Always the more careful twin. Why haven't you visited us before? Carter's question is sharp. Pointed. Beyond his years. Dominic kneels down. Bringing himself to eye level with his sons. With the children he never knew he'd want until it was almost too late. Because I made a mistake. A big one. And your mama had to take care of you by herself for a long time. But I'm here now. If it's okay with you. If you want me to be. Noah doesn't hesitate. Launches himself at Dominic in a hug that nearly knocks them both over. The spontaneous affection of a child who hasn't learned to guard his heart yet. Dominic's arms close around his son. His whole body shaking with the weight of this moment. Of 5 years of absence condensed into one perfect, devastating embrace. Carter stands apart. Still watching. Still uncertain. Victoria wants to go to him. To explain. To make this easier. But sometimes children need to process things in their own time. In their own way. Finally, Carter speaks. Are you going to leave again? The question is quiet. But it carries the weight of every abandonment fear. Every story about fathers who promise and don't deliver. Every nightmare about being unwanted. Dominic looks at Carter over Noah's shoulder. His gray eyes, meeting identical gray eyes. Father and son. No. I'm not going to leave. Not unless you want me to. I'm going to stay. I'm going to learn how to be your dad. And I'm going to spend every day proving that I'm worth having around. Carter considers this. His young face serious. Old beyond his years. Then slowly, carefully, he walks forward. Stops in front of Dominic. Studies him with an artist's eye. taking in every detail, every similarity, every difference. You have my eyes. Yes. And you have mine. And Noah's. Yes. Carter nods. Some internal decision made. Then he extends his small hand. Formal. Proper. Okay. You can stay. But if you make Mama cry again, I'll ask you to leave. Dominic takes his son's hand. Shakes it with all the gravity the moment deserves. That's fair. I promise to do my best not to make her cry. But if I do, you have every right to hold me accountable. Victoria watches this exchange through tears she can't control anymore. Her boys. Her beautiful, perfect boys. Meeting their father for the first time. Offering him a chance he doesn't deserve but maybe possibly has earned through 5 years of searching. Phoenix appears on the porch. Takes in the scene. Catches Victoria's eye. Mouths a single question. You okay? Victoria doesn't know how to answer. She's terrified, furious, hopeful, devastated, relieved, all at once. All impossible to sort through. But she nods. Because what else can she do? The universe has delivered Dominic back into their lives. And now they have to figure out what comes next. The kitchen table has never felt smaller. Victoria sits across from Dominic while Carter and Noah play in the living room. Their laughter drifts through the doorway. Like innocent. Unaware of the tension crackling between their parents like a live wire. Phoenix left 20 minutes ago. But not before pulling Victoria aside and whispering a warning that still echoes in her ears. He breaks your heart again, I break his kneecaps. Just so we're clear. Victoria almost smiled. Almost. Now it's just the two of them. 5 years of silence sitting between them like a third person at the table. Uninvited but impossible to ignore. Dominic hasn't touched his coffee. His hands wrap around the mug like he needs something to hold on to. Something solid. Real. How long have you been here? In Riverstone? Since the beginning. Since I left New York. Victoria's voice is steady. Practiced. She's had 5 years to build walls around the soft parts of herself. 5 years to forget how to be vulnerable with this man. And you've been alone this whole time? Raising them by yourself? Yes. The single word carries weight. Accusation. Years of exhaustion and fear and determination. Dominic's jaw tightens. He looks away. Toward the window where autumn light filters through lace curtains Victoria hung 3 years ago. When she finally started believing this place could be home. I'm sorry. 2 words. Inadequate. Laughable. But something in the way he says them. Raw. Stripped of pride. Makes Victoria's anger waver just slightly. Sorry doesn't give me back 5 years, Dominic. Sorry doesn't erase the nights I sat in a hospital alone while Noah had croup. Or the time Carter broke his arm and I had to hold him down for x-rays by myself. Sorry doesn't pay the bills I juggled or fix the times I cried in my car because I was so tired I couldn't see straight. Her voice rises despite her best efforts. 5 years of suppressed emotion finally finding an outlet. I know. Dominic's hands shake around the mug. Coffee ripples like a tiny earthquake. I know sorry doesn't fix anything. But I need you to know that if I could go back, if I could undo that night, the things I said, I would. In a heartbeat. But you can't. No. I can't. Silence settles over them. Heavy. Suffocating. From the living room comes the sound of blocks crashing. Noah's delighted laugh. Carter's patient voice explaining how to build a tower that won't fall. They're amazing. Dominic's voice cracks. You've done an incredible job with them, Victoria. They're kind. Happy. Confident. Everything I was terrified children would take from me. You gave them anyway. Victoria's throat tightens. She won't cry. Refuses to give him the satisfaction of seeing her break. They ask about you. All the time. Why don't we have a daddy like other kids? Where is he? Does he love us? When is he coming home? She watches Dominic flinch with each question. Good. he should hurt. Should feel even a fraction of the pain those questions caused her. What do you tell them? That you work far away. That you love them but can't visit. That someday maybe things will be different. Victoria's voice drops. I lied to protect them. To give them a father who loved them even in absence. Because the truth, that you rejected them before they even existed, would have destroyed something in them I couldn't fix. Dominic's head drops into his hands. His shoulders shake. And Victoria realizes with shock that he's crying. Actually crying. Not the controlled emotion of a man used to boardrooms and negotiations, but the broken, desperate crying of someone drowning in regret. I was a coward. His voice comes out muffled, thick. I was so terrified of losing control, of my life becoming something I didn't recognize, that I destroyed the only thing that mattered. I destroyed us. I destroyed the chance to know them from the beginning. And I've spent 5 years understanding exactly what I threw away. He looks up. His face is wet, raw, stripped of every defense. I sold the company, Victoria, 3 months after you left, when I finally accepted that you weren't coming back, that I'd driven you away with my selfishness and fear. I sold everything I thought defined me. And you know what I discovered? Victoria doesn't respond. Can't. That without you. Without the possibility of you. None of it meant anything. The money. The power. The empire I was so desperate to protect. It was all hollow. Meaningless. I had everything I thought I wanted and nothing that actually mattered. He stands. Paces to the window. His back to her. I've spent 5 years searching every weekend. Drove to every small town. Every place I thought you might have gone. I hired investigators, but they couldn't find you. It was like you vanished. Like the universe was punishing me by showing me exactly what I'd lost and keeping it just out of reach. Victoria watches him. This broken version of the man who once seemed untouchable. Part of her wants to feel vindicated. To enjoy his pain. But mostly she just feels tired. Why now? Why keep searching after all this time? Because I love you. Dominic turns. His gray eyes meeting hers with devastating honesty. I've loved you since the night we met. And I destroyed that love with 3 words I can never take back. But even in the wreckage, even knowing I didn't deserve forgiveness or second chances, I couldn't stop loving you. Couldn't stop hoping that maybe, somehow, I'd find you and you'd let me try to make it right. And the boys? I didn't know about them. Not for certain. But I suspected. The timeline. The way you tried to tell me something that night. I suspected and I searched anyway. Because whether you were alone or with my children, I needed to find you. To apologize. To beg you for a chance I don't deserve. Victoria stands. Walks to the sink. Stares out at the garden where an hour ago everything was simple. Where her biggest worry was whether she'd bought enough birthday cake. What do you want from me, Dominic? Really? Do you want to play father for a few weeks? Ease your guilt? Then go back to whatever new life you've built? I want to stay. The words are firm. Certain. I want to be their father. Not just biologically, but really be their father. Learn their favorite foods. Help with homework. Read bedtime stories. I want to know them. To earn their trust. Their love. I want them to know that having me in their lives is better than the fiction you've been telling them. And what about me? Victoria's voice breaks. What about the fact that I spent 5 years rebuilding myself? Learning how to be enough for them. Building a life that doesn't have space for you? Then I'll make space. Dominic crosses to her. Stops just close enough that she can feel his warmth. His presence. Still maddeningly familiar after all this time. I'm not asking you to forget what I did. Or to forgive me immediately. I'm asking for a chance. To prove that I'm not that man anymore. That I can be what they need. What you need. I don't need you. The lie tastes bitter. Maybe not. But they do. Carter and Noah deserve to know their father. The real one. Not the invented version you've been giving them. They deserve the chance to decide for themselves if I'm worth having around. Victoria closes her eyes. She's so tired of carrying everything alone. So tired of being strong. Of making all the decisions. Of being both mother and father and everything in between. But she's also terrified. Terrified that if she lets Dominic in, if she lets the boys love him, he'll leave. And the devastation will be so much worse than anything she's survived so far. I need time. How much time? I don't know. Time to think. To figure out what this means. To protect them if you change your mind. Dominic nods. Respects the boundary even though it clearly costs him. Okay. Take the time you need. I'm staying at the Harbor Inn. I'm not leaving town. Not going back to New York. Not until we figure this out. What about your life there? I don't have a life there anymore. I told you. I sold everything. My apartment. The company. All of it. I've been living out of hotels for 5 years. Searching. Waiting. Hoping. Victoria opens her eyes. Studies his face. Looking for the lie. The manipulation. The man who put his empire before everything else. But she doesn't find him. Instead she sees someone genuine. Broken. Desperate to make amends for mistakes that cost him everything. 1 week. Her voice is steady now. Decided. I'll give you 1 week. You can visit. Spend time with them. But supervised. I need to see how they respond. How you handle the reality of parenting. Not the idea of it. The actual work. Okay. Can you do the morning routine? The tantrums? The whining? The fights over vegetables? The bedtime battles? Yes. What about when Noah has nightmares 3 times a night? When Carter shuts down because he's overstimulated? When they both want different things and someone has to compromise? I'll learn. Learning takes time. Dominic. Mistakes. Patience. Are you really ready for that? No. The honest answer surprises her. I'm not ready. I'm terrified I'll fail. That I won't know what I'm doing. That they'll hate me or I'll disappoint them or hurt them somehow. But I'm here anyway. Because being terrified of failing is better than never trying at all. Victoria wants to argue. To find the flaw in his logic. But she can't. Because isn't that exactly what she did 5 years ago? Chose to be terrified and try anyway? Tomorrow. 9 in the morning. We have breakfast at 9:30. You can help. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. They're a handful in the morning. Especially Noah. He's not a morning person. I'll manage. We'll see. Victoria moves toward the living room. Toward the sound of her children playing. But Dominic's voice stops her. Victoria. I meant what I said. About loving you. That hasn't changed. It never will. She doesn't turn around. Can't look at him without feeling something she's not ready to feel. Love wasn't enough 5 years ago, Dominic. I don't know if it's enough now. Then I'll find a way to make it enough. Whatever it takes. Victoria walks away before she can respond. Before she can say something she'll regret. Before the walls she spent 5 years building start to crumble completely. In the living room, Carter and Noah have built an elaborate tower of blocks. It teeters dangerously. About to collapse. But they're so proud. So focused on adding one more piece. Just like Victoria. Adding pieces to a life that feels increasingly unstable. Hoping the whole thing doesn't come crashing down. The next morning arrives too quickly. Victoria wakes at 6. Can't fall back asleep. Her mind races with every possible disaster. Dominic showing up late. Or worse. Not showing up at all. The boy's disappointment. The confirmation that he's exactly who she feared he still was. But at 8:55, precisely 5 minutes early, there's a knock on the door. Victoria opens it to find Dominic holding coffee. 2 cups. 1 with cream and 2 sugars. Exactly how she used to take it. Peace offering. He holds out the cup. Uncertain. Victoria accepts it. Takes a sip. It's perfect. Of course it's perfect. He remembered after 5 years. The boys are still asleep. They sleep late on Sundays. Should I wait? You can come in. Help me start breakfast. They'll be up soon enough once they smell pancakes. Dominic follows her to the kitchen. Stands awkwardly in the space. Clearly out of his element. His expensive clothes. Dark jeans and a cashmere sweater. Look absurd next to Victoria's paint-stained pajamas and worn slippers. What do you need me to do? Victoria hands him a mixing bowl. The pancake ingredients. You remember how to make these? They used to make pancakes together. On lazy Sunday mornings in his penthouse. Before everything fell apart. When the world was just the two of them and possibility. I remember. His voice is soft. Filled with the same memories. They work in silence. Moving around each other with surprising ease. Muscle memory from a different lifetime. Victoria tells herself it means nothing. That familiarity isn't the same as trust. But it's harder to believe when he's standing next to her. When she can smell his cologne. When his shoulder brushes hers and every nerve ending remembers what it felt like to be loved by him. At 9:15. Small feet thunder down the stairs. Noah appears first. Hair sticking up in every direction. Still in dinosaur pajamas. He stops short when he sees Dominic. You came back. The surprise in his voice breaks Victoria's heart. As if he expected this morning to prove it was all a dream. I promised I would. Dominic sets down the mixing bowl. Kneels to Noah's level. And I'm going to keep coming back. As long as you want me to. Noah studies him. Processing. Then launches himself forward in a hug that nearly knocks Dominic over. Carter appears more slowly. Cautious as always. He stands in the doorway. Watching his brother embrace their father. His expression unreadable. Good morning, Carter. Dominic's voice is gentle. Careful not to push. Morning. Carter's response is neutral. Guarded. But he comes into the kitchen. Sits at his usual spot at the table. Progress. Victoria catches Dominic's eye. Mouths the word silently. He nods. Understanding. Breakfast is chaos. Noah talks non-stop. About his dreams and his friend Riley and the fort in the woods and a butterfly he saw yesterday that had purple on its wings. Carter eats quietly. Observing. Occasionally correcting Noah's more enthusiastic exaggerations. Dominic listens to everything. Asks questions. Remembers details. Victoria watches him transform from the controlled businessman she knew into something softer. More present. More real. Maybe he really has changed. The thought is dangerous. Tempting. Victoria pushes it away. One breakfast doesn't erase 5 years. Doesn't guarantee he won't leave when things get hard. After breakfast. Noah insists on showing Dominic their room. Carter trails behind. Still uncertain. Still protecting his heart. Victoria cleans up. Listening to the sounds from upstairs. Noah's excited chatter. Dominic's deeper voice asking about drawings. About toys. About the things that matter to a 5-year-old. This is my dinosaur collection. Noah's voice carries clearly. I have 17 different ones. Carter has 14. But he likes reading books about them more than playing with them. That's because books teach you things. Carter's voice. Defensive. Books are important. Daddy. Do you like books? The word daddy from Carter's mouth stops Victoria's breathing. He said it so casually. Like he's been saying it his whole life. Like the word belongs to this moment. I love books. What kind do you like? Chapter books. And science books about space. Mama reads them to me every night. She sounds like a wonderful mama. She is. She takes care of us when we're sick. And she paints with us. And she makes really good grilled cheese. Even though she burns the edges sometimes. Victoria smiles despite herself. So they do notice the burned edges. The morning passes quickly. Too quickly. Dominic stays for lunch. Then helps the boys build with blocks. Reads them stories with different voices that make them giggle. Doesn't check his phone once. Doesn't seem impatient or bored or ready to leave. He's fully present. Completely engaged. Everything she needed him to be 5 years ago. At 4 in the afternoon. Victoria finally tells him it's time to go. The boys protest. Beg him to stay for dinner. Stay for bedtime. Stay forever. I'll come back tomorrow. If your mama says it's okay. He looks at Victoria. Silently asking permission. Tomorrow is a school day. But you can come for dinner. The boys cheer. Dominic's face transforms with relief. Gratitude. Something that might be love if Victoria let herself believe in it again. After he leaves. After the boys are occupied with their evening routine. Phoenix calls. So, how'd it go? He showed up. Helped with breakfast. Spent the whole day here. And he was good with them. Really good. Patient. Engaged. Everything I hoped he'd be. But, Victoria sighs. But it's one day, Phoenix. One day doesn't erase 5 years. Doesn't guarantee he won't leave. No. It doesn't. But it's a start. And maybe that's enough for now. The days that follow establish a rhythm. Dominic arrives every morning. Helps with breakfast. Walks the boys to school. Returns for dinner. Stays for bedtime stories. Never overstays. Always respects Victoria's boundaries. The boys bloom under his attention. Noah becomes even more confident. More affectionate. He holds Dominic's hand automatically now. Saves his best drawings to show him. Asks his opinion on everything from cloud shapes to whether dinosaurs had feelings. Carter is slower to warm. But gradually. Carefully. He lets Dominic in. Asks him to read specific books. Shows him his favorite hiding spot in the fort. One afternoon. Victoria finds them in the garden. Carter's head bent over a sketchbook while Dominic watches with such love and pride it makes her chest ache. They're falling in love with him. Her boys. Her careful, protected, beautiful boys. Are falling in love with their father. And it terrifies her. Because what happens when he leaves? When the reality of parenting becomes too much. When he remembers why he never wanted this in the first place. The fears consume her. Keep her awake at night. Make her watch him with hawk eyes. Looking for signs of frustration. Boredom. Regret. But she doesn't find them. 3 weeks pass. Then 4. Dominic never misses a day. Never shows up late. Never makes promises he doesn't keep. When Noah gets sick with a stomach bug, Dominic is there. Holding a bucket. Rubbing his back. Cleaning up without complaint. When Carter has a meltdown at school about a project, Dominic picks him up. Takes him for ice cream. Listens while Carter explains in careful detail why the assignment was unfair. Doesn't try to fix it. Just validates his feelings. He's not perfect. Makes mistakes. Burns dinner one night. Accidentally says the wrong thing and hurts Noah's feelings. But he apologizes. Learns. Adjusts. He's trying. Really trying. In a way that feels genuine. Real. Permanent. And slowly. So slowly Victoria barely notices. Her walls begin to crack. It happens in small moments. The way he makes her coffee every morning without being asked. The way he fixes the loose step on the porch without making a big deal of it. The way he looks at her when the boys aren't watching. With longing and regret and hope all tangled together. It happens when he stays late one Friday. After the boys are asleep. They sit in the garden. Under stars that seem brighter than usual. and he tells her about the 5 years. About the searching, the hotels, the loneliness that became his constant companion. I understand if you can't forgive me. His voice is quiet, defeated. I understand if the best I can hope for is being a good father to them. If that's all I get, I'll take it. It's more than I deserve. Victoria looks at him. Really looks at him. This man who destroyed her. Who she spent 5 years hating. Who somehow became someone she doesn't recognize. Someone better. What if I want more than that? The question escapes before she can stop it. Dangerous. Vulnerable. True. Dominic's head snaps up. His eyes search hers. Looking for the trap. The trick. Finding only honesty. What are you saying? I'm saying I see how hard you're trying. How much you love them. How you've changed. I'm saying maybe we could try. Not for them. For us. Victoria's voice shakes. I'm saying I'm terrified. But I'm tired of being afraid. Tired of protecting myself from something I might want. Dominic closes the distance between them. Slowly. Giving her time to pull away. When she doesn't, his hand comes up to cup her face. The touch is achingly familiar. Heartbreakingly gentle. Tell me what you want, Victoria. Tell me and I'll spend the rest of my life making it happen. I want to believe this is real. That you won't wake up one day and regret choosing us. Choosing this life over the one you had. I won't. I can't. That life is gone. I destroyed it the day I let you walk out. This is the life I want. The only life that matters. He leans closer. His breath warm against her skin. I love you. I've loved you for 6 years. Through 5 years of absence and regret. Through every moment of searching. Through every version of myself I had to become to deserve you. I love you. And I will spend every day proving it if you let me. Victoria closes her eyes. Feels tears slip down her cheeks. These aren't sad tears. Not entirely. They're release. Relief. The weight of 5 years finally lifting. Kiss me. The words are barely a whisper. But Dominic hears them. Has been waiting for them. His lips meet hers with desperate tenderness. 5 years of longing compressed into one perfect moment. The kiss tastes like forgiveness. Like second chances. Like coming home after being lost for so long you forgot what home felt like. When they finally break apart. Both breathing hard. Victoria rests her forehead against his. This doesn't fix everything. We have so much to work through. So much hurt to heal. I know. But maybe we can try. Maybe is enough. For now. Maybe is everything. The following Saturday. The boy's 6th birthday arrives with golden October light that makes everything look painted. Victoria wakes early. Finds Dominic already in the kitchen. Making birthday pancakes shaped like the number 6. He moved into the guest room 2 weeks ago. After a long conversation about boundaries and expectations and taking things slowly. The boys were ecstatic. Noah immediately declared it the best day ever. Carter was quieter. But that night, Victoria overheard him whispering to his brother. I think he's really staying this time. Watching Dominic in her kitchen, humming while he cooks. Victoria thinks maybe Carter was right. Maybe this time. He really is staying. The birthday party is small. Phoenix and her daughter Riley. Margaret Chen. A few kids from school. They gather in the garden. Eat cake. Watch the boys open presents. It's perfect. Simple. Exactly what Victoria always wanted for them. As the afternoon fades. As guests leave and children run through the yard. Dominic pulls Victoria aside. There's one more thing. He reaches into his pocket. Pulls out a small velvet box. Victoria's breath catches. Before you panic. This isn't what you think. Not yet. I know we're not ready for that. But I wanted you to have this. He opens the box. Inside is a delicate silver necklace. 3 intertwined circles, each with a tiny initial. C. N. V. The boys and you. My family. I had it made because I wanted you to know. To really know. That you're it for me. All 3 of you. Forever. Victoria's eyes fill. She takes the necklace. Lets him fasten it around her neck. The metal is warm. Solid. Real. Thank you. No. Thank you. For giving me a second chance. For letting me know them. Love them. For not giving up on me even when I deserved it. Victoria turns in his arms. Looks up at this man who broke her heart and somehow managed to piece it back together. I love you. She says it quietly, but firmly. No hesitation. No doubt. Dominic's eyes go bright. He pulls her close. Buries his face in her hair. I love you too. God. I love you so much. Daddy. Mama. Both boys come running. Crash into their parents with the full force of 6-year-old enthusiasm. Can we have more cake? Noah asks hopefully. Absolutely not. Victoria laughs. You've had 3 pieces already. But it's our birthday. Carter adds. Logical as always. Nice try. But the answer is still no. They groan. But they're smiling. Happy. Secure in a way that makes Victoria's heart swell. This is her family. Not perfect. Not traditional. Built from the wreckage of mistakes and fear and 5 years of separation. But it's theirs. And it's real. And it's enough. 6 months later. On a spring morning when the garden is full of flowers and possibility. Dominic asks Victoria to marry him. Properly this time. With both boys present. All 4 of them standing under the oak tree where they've built so many memories. The boys cheer. Victoria cries. Dominic slides the ring onto her finger with shaking hands and a smile that could light the whole world. They marry in the garden 3 months later. Small ceremony. Close friends. Phoenix as maid of honor. Margaret Chen crying in the front row. Carter and Noah in matching suits. Standing beside their father. Proud. Happy. Whole. When the officiant asks if anyone objects. Noah shouts. Nope. This is perfect. Everyone laughs. Victoria looks at Dominic through happy tears. He mouths 3 words. I love you. She mouths them back. Means them with every cell in her body. The reception is chaos. Dancing and laughter and cake fights that Victoria pretends to be mad about but secretly loves. As the sun sets. As the last guests leave. The 4 of them collapse on a blanket under the stars. Best day ever. Noah declares. Already half asleep. Agreed. Carter adds. His head on Dominic's shoulder. Victoria looks at her family. Her husband. Her sons. This life she never imagined she'd have. That was built from pain and became something beautiful. Dominic catches her eye. Smiles. That private smile just for her. And Victoria knows. With absolute certainty. That they made it. Against impossible odds. Through heartbreak and separation and 5 years of loneliness. They found their way back to each other. And this time. They're never letting go. 5 years ago. 3 words destroyed everything. I never want kids. But sometimes destruction is necessary. Sometimes you have to break completely before you can rebuild into something stronger. Sometimes never becomes always. And always becomes forever. Under a sky full of stars. With 2 sleeping boys between them and a future stretching endlessly ahead. Victoria and Dominic finally understand what love really means. Not the passionate, consuming kind that burns bright and fast, but the quiet, steady kind that weathers storms and forgives mistakes and chooses to stay even when leaving would be easier. The kind of love that builds families, creates homes, transforms broken people into something whole. Carter stirs, mumbles something about dinosaurs, Noah shifts closer to his mother. Dominic's hand finds Victoria's. Their fingers intertwine. A promise. A covenant. A choice they'll make every day for the rest of their lives. This is happiness. Not perfect. Not without scars. But real. Hard-won. Worth every tear. Every sleepless night. Every moment of doubt. This is love. The kind that survives the unsurvivable. That forgives the unforgivable. That transforms 3 words of rejection into a lifetime of acceptance. I never want kids. He said it once. Believed it. Built his whole life around avoiding this exact moment. But looking at his sons. His wife. This family that shouldn't exist but does. Dominic understands that some lies we tell ourselves are just fear in disguise. And sometimes the things we're most afraid of wanting are exactly what we need to become who we're meant to be. The stars wheel overhead. The night grows deeper. And in a small garden in a coastal town in Maine, a family sleeps under open sky. Safe. Loved. Together. Finally. Impossibly. Completely. Home.